Chapter 12. Very short chapter. There's only 8 verses right here, but very important as well. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a woman have conceived seed, and born a man child, then she shall be unclean 7 days. According to the days of the separation for her infirmity, shall she be unclean. And in the 8th day, the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised, and she shall then continue in the blood of her purifying 33 days. So this is 40 days of complete purification that the woman has to go through if she has a male, different for a female. She shall touch no hallowed thing, nor come into the sanctuary until the days of her purifying be fulfilled. Now, the hallowed thing would be any of the types of sacrifices that would have been given at that time, be it the grain offering, sacrifice offering, any type of the burnt offering, sin offering, whatever it may be. She's not to touch any of those things. Pulpit noted, in the first stage, during the 7 days, she made all that she touched unclean. In the second stage, after the boy has been circumcised, in the second stage, during the 33 days, she was only required to touch no hallowed thing, nor come into the sanctuary, as she was progressing towards cleanness. So during that 33 days, she was still considered unclean, but not to the point where she couldn't touch anything. The very first command God ever gives unto man is, be fruitful and multiply, meaning go out and have babies, Man imparts his depraved nature to his offspring, so that the original blessing, increase and multiply, is become to the fallen race a direful curse. It was beautiful at the very beginning. It was supposed to be something of just nothing but great blessings. But ever since the fall, we see a change up. It's become to the fallen race a direful curse and communicates sin and misery. The whole reason why the woman is considered unclean is because she has brought a sinner into the world, be it a male or a female. But we do read about circumcision being performed on the 8th day. Believe it or not, this is medically thousands of years before they ever knew anything about it. This is medically sound.
It is written in Genesis chapter 17, verse 12, And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you. Every man-child in your generations, he that is born in the house, or bought with money of any stranger, which is not of thy seed. Thousands of years later, medical professionals discovered that the blood-clotting elements, vitamin K and prothrombin, are on an adequate level on the 8th day of life.
And as usual, Paul the Apostle, he was let in on this symbolism behind the circumcision, in whom also ye are circumcised with the circumcision made without hands, in putting off the body of the sins of the flesh by the circumcision of Christ, buried with him in baptism. That's what he likens our circumcision to. Baptism, wherein also ye are risen with him through the faith of the operation of God, who hath raised him from the dead. And you, being dead in your sins and the uncircumcision of your flesh, hath he quickened together with him, meaning made alive with him, having forgiven you all trespasses, blotting out the handwriting of ordinances that was against us, talking about the law and how we could not ever, no man except Christ, could ever live up to the law, which was contrary to us, and took it out of the way, nailing it to his cross. And we went over this about how Christ became a curse for us, and all in whom were nailed to a tree became a curse, and all in whom are under the law are cursed, because they can't live up to it. So Christ, by becoming that curse for us, took that out of the way, nailing it to his cross. And now we go before the law of Moses, and we go back to Abraham, the man of faith, and all in whom believe God are considered friends of God. Now it's all about faith. David Guzik noted the hygienic reasons behind circumcision, though, that of the body, especially making sense in the ancient world. In his book, None of These Diseases, S.I. McMillan noted studies in 1949 and 1954 that showed a remarkably low rate of cervical cancer for Jewish women because they mostly have husbands who are circumcised. But now let's look at this 40 days of uncleanness just for a minute. When a son was born, a mother's ceremonial uncleanness lasted an additional 33 days, for a total of 40 days of ceremonial impurity after giving birth to a male child. There were several reasons for this now, but one important reason was to give an Israelite mother an ancient equivalent to the modern maternity leave. Here, ceremonial uncleanness relieved her of many social obligations so that she could just spend time with her newborn baby. Mothers most likely welcome these days of rest, seclusion, and bonding with the newborn. So that is for a male child. Now let's see about a female. But if she bear a maid child, then she shall be unclean 2 weeks, even longer, as in her separation, and she shall continue in the blood of her purifying 66 days. So 66 more days added on to this. The longer period of ceremonial uncleanness for the birth of a daughter should not be understood as a penalty. Instead, it is linked to the idea stated in the previous verses that the time of impurity is for the symbolic responsibility of bringing other sinners into the world. When giving birth to a female, unlike a male, a mother brings a sinner into the world who will bring still other sinners into the world. Unlike a male, more sinners will come through a female. Okay, so let's close out the chapter. And when the days of her purifying are fulfilled for a son or for a daughter, she shall bring a lamb of the first year for a burnt offering, and a young pigeon or a turtle dove for a sin offering unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation unto the priest. So she brings it to the priest, who shall offer it before the Lord and make an atonement for her, and she shall be cleansed from the issue of her blood. This is the law for her that hath borne a male or a female. And if she be not able to bring a lamb, then she shall bring 2 turtle doves, or 2 young pigeons, the one for the burnt offering, and the other for a sin offering, and the priest shall make an atonement for her, and she shall be clean. Now this is for the poor people. Couldn't afford a lamb, then just bring a couple of doves in there. And this is what Mary and Joseph had to do. It tells us that how poor that they were and impoverished.